The last Metroid is in captivity. The galaxy is at peace.
Hello and welcome to Nintendo Nostalgia episode 211. I am your host Ryan. I am joined by Chris and Jacob, and we are back and we are playing with power. Guys, how you doing this week, Chris?
Doing really well. Having a crazy week, but I am thankful for everything going on in my life. So it's been a good few days. Yeah. How about you guys?
I'm well. Yeah, life just marches on every day, and I'll be 30 next week. Wow, it's kind of crazy. So.
Wow.
I know. Oh my gosh.
Wonderful. I mean, it's a good age.
I miss being a teenager.
Yeah.
31's hard, but 30 was great.
I don't know.
I feel exactly the same as when I did in my 20s. So don't stress about it. At least not yet.
Yeah. Well, everyone still thinks at work they think I look like I kid you not, they think I'm like 21 or 23. They're shocked when I tell them I'm about to be 30.
Great.
I'm like, well, that's what happens when you take care of yourself.
Well, the people that think you're 23 don't like you because nobody likes you when you're 23.
That's right. They don't like you when you're 29 either, so you're kind of screwed. 29 might be the worst year of my life, just saying.
We love you a lot, Jacob.
Well, we have a few days left, so there's still time for it to be the best year of your life.
Yeah, I mean, there's been some good stuff, I guess. That lady in the background there.
I've got an important question. What are you radical Rexing about?
Well, I'll go first.
Go for it.
What am I radical Rexing about? Well, I have Lindsay here tonight. She's playing my Switch, and I made her a profile. Actually is, you guys, everyone knows our artist Kyle. He actually made his own profile on my Switch a long time ago, and I just deleted his name and put Lindsay's in there. And she's playing Mario Odyssey for the first time, because I told you guys we've been playing Mario 64, and she's never, she never experienced anything past 64, polygon graphics much, and so I guess that's a major difference in graphics and gameplay, but she's playing it, and I think she likes it, so she's doing it while we record, that's for sure. But she brought her card of Mario 64 so we can continue to collect all 120 stars.
Good.
Where are you guys at with stars so far?
Oh man, I think we're in the 90s.
Not bad.
We have 90 some stars. So 95 stars is what Lindsay said.
Stellar.
Almost there.
So we're getting there. Slowly but surely, kind of going back and finishing up, the 100 coin stars and levels that you just don't, there. It's kind of funny. There's a lot of levels when I revisit it that I don't really have too much fond memories for. Like I remember not liking this level, or didn't like the music in that level, and I'm figuring that out as I revisit it. But I mean, I still love the game as a whole. It's a fantastic game, but. Yeah, so we're doing that. I'm radical action about that. On my birthday, this Friday, if anyone can make it, I'm gonna have guys over and just play some video games for my birthday. Ryan, I heard the Indiana mask mandate is officially done on the 16th. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah, and the numbers are climbing, so I don't get it, but whatever.
Yeah.
I'm still gonna wear a mask.
Makes perfect sense, but I'm just saying, come on over, man. Check your temperature. We'll be here. You can.
Hey.
Switch is portable. You can just sit in the kitchen and we'll stay in the living room. So
I'll probably drive there, sit out in my car and play with you guys. But I want to be there. Just don't want to.
I don't think the Switch Wi-Fi is that good to handle that distance. So, but yeah, you're more than welcome to come, Chris. You can make the jump over a couple states if you want to, but
It's only
Couple
10 hours,
states,
you know.
only 10 hours, yeah.
Well, what games do you have in mind? Because maybe we could play something online that day.
Well, we'll definitely play Smash. I intend on buying I don't have the Steam downloaded yet, so I'll probably do that on Friday. I mean, yes.
I got 12 minutes with him.
Oh yeah,
So
how was it?
that's what I'll be Radical Rexing about.
Okay. Steve, I mean, mainly that's what we do. We play a ton of Smash, honestly. Sometimes we pull out other games depending on what it is and who's there and what people want to play. But a lot of times we mix it up too. And we love to throw out old retro games and play, like the GameCube and stuff and revisit old things. So I don't know what we'll do. I still don't know officially who's coming, so we'll see. I mean, it could just be Traven or Knife for all I know. So, but I'll definitely keep you posted. But Radical Rexing about really just that's about it, I guess. I mean, not a ton new stuff coming up. I want to know more about. I don't know. We were kind of getting spoiled with news there, weren't we?
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
Like literally, it's like every week there was some news drop since like the Mario 35th anniversary. We literally got like an announcement every single week, and that was like the big week topic of this week in gaming. And now it's like, oh man, something else, So
Well, now we're actually starting to get those things that were announced. So I guess we're just in that phase, but I'm still hoping for a couple more things.
Yeah, I feel like I want one more big Christmas game, and we don't have that yet. And I'm just like, I mean, Hyrule Warriors looks fantastic. The more they showed off, I'm so happy about that and the story that I see. Like they showed off like the Yiga, is that they're called Yiga, the Yiga clan. They showed off like a trailer with them today, and there was just some mysterious character at the end who looked like a really bad dude and like
Aghanim. I'm telling you, it's Aghanim.
You think it's Aghanim?
Or how you pronounce his name.
Well, it looked really interesting. So I'm really curious if they're going to start introducing like key characters to the Zelda story that happened like before Breath of the Wild. Like there's something intriguing about that. Makes you want to learn about them. Like what else happened, which might give way, in my opinion. We'll save this because we got our Zelda predictions episode coming up soon, but next week actually. But it's really interesting thinking about like events that we're going to see in Hyrule Warriors. I promise you they're going to show some story elements that didn't happen in Breath of the Wild and are going to take more place in Breath of the Wild 2. I guarantee it. So I'm excited. That's pretty much all I've been Radical Rexing about, though. Yeah, what about you guys?
Chris?
Well, I haven't really had time for anything lately. School's just driving me crazy. I'm in like all these different programs now, and they all started like at the same time. But besides that, I just got an email that my Joy-Con is finally getting mailed back to me. So so that's great.
Wonderful.
Or at least it would be, except I just found out right before I got here that my other Joy-Con is now drifting. So now I have to mail that one to mail the right one. So, which is fine because honestly, like I said, I have so much stuff going on. But
over it.
Yeah, and honestly, it didn't really take too much time. It only took like 3 weeks or so. So I can live another 3 weeks and. Hopefully it'll be done for a while, even though I don't use them that much. But otherwise, gaming-wise, I've been picking up a few weirdo indie games lately. I went kind of far away yesterday to pick up this game called Skullgirls, if you guys heard of that one.
Oh, yeah, the fighting game.
Yeah, I was like, I didn't really know anything about it. I still kind of don't, because I popped it in for like 5 minutes. But it looked really cool, and it's...
Is it Switch?
Yeah, yep. It's
Oh.
Skullgirls
Kyle's
Second
all about
Encore.
that game.
Yep.
I didn't know it came out on Switch.
Yeah, it's
or physical even.
Yeah. So I had to drive pretty far for that one because it's actually I have the last one in New Jersey that was being sold. So that was nice.
Nice.
Yeah, it looks really
Awesome.
cool. Very stylish and weird, and I love it. Something different,
Cool.
And I'm hoping I can get into like fighting games because of it. It just seems strange enough. Picked up this game called Freedom Finger. If you heard of that one, I guess it's made
Sounds
by
like a DS
No?
game.
I could see it being on the DS kind of, but it's basically I think it's made by the people who make Rick and Morty.
Okay.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The show's fine to me, but I just thought it was such a weird idea for a game, so got that. I got Lode Runner Legacy in the mail.
Hmm?
I haven't played any of those games, but I hear they're really good, and this one's supposed to kind of like harken back to its retro roots. So I hope I get some enjoyment out of that. Otherwise, two more things. I've been playing Little Inferno. I love Little Inferno.
Nice.
It's very strange. I don't know why I love it. I don't know why I bought it, but I love it. You just like burn random things and you see how these items like interact with each other in the fire, and there's this like little subtle story that happens in the background as well, so it's something different. And I had a lot of fun with you guys. I don't know if I mentioned this last time when we played Federation Force together. So that was
Yes.
that was fun. I had a really great time, and hopefully we can jump back into that again. So yeah, that's pretty much it. What about you, Ryan?
Cool. Jacob, I am really surprised you didn't Radical Rex about that other game that you were playing.
Jump rope challenge?
No, that other one that you picked up for like really cheap, and you said it was terrible.
That bat game.
Yeah, MacBat or whatever. It was.
MacBat 64, I think is what it's called. Oh, it's awful. I mean, it really is terrible. I see why it's like $2. It's called MacBat 64, and it looks like Laylee from Ukulele, and it looks like Laylee as a 64-bit bat. It's not made by Playtonic, and it's just terrible. I mean, it just looks like some dude made it in his bedroom as a high school project, for his computer class or something like that, for like a senior project. That's what it looks like. It's terrible. I mean, I figured $2. What the heck,
Did you get it because it looked like Laylee and you were hoping to get something ukulele-ish out of it?
Yeah, and it looked like 64 is my favorite retro system. So I am a sucker for games that look like the polygons and stuff like that, 64 polygons. And I thought, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not like it's not trash per se. It's just not fun, So it's, you can definitely tell it's a one-person thing. So
Yeah.
besides
So,
that,
what I'm Radical Rexing about? It's kind of a mix of things. I did get my Joy-Cons yesterday, my 3 that I sent off, and I got them back and repaired. This time they didn't salvage my sticker. I think they switched out the Joy-Con casing.
so American.
It's
about
okay. The Zelda sticker that I had on there was mostly white. There was no graphic left on it, so I didn't complain about that.
Breath of the Wild ones.
Yeah, that one. They were well worn for sure.
Yeah,
What
you
color
haven't since day
Joy-Cons do
one.
you have?
The ones I sent off were gray, yellow, and red.
Oh.
The Mario Red.
Like the Mario Red. Okay, cool.
Yep.
Let me get
And they're
mine
all left
sent in.
Joy-Cons, of course, naturally.
That makes sense, I guess.
Oh, I said it was yellow. No, it was green that I sent off.
Oh.
Sorry. It was Mario Red, green, and gray.
Cool.
There we go. Got it straight that time. And then before I hopped on here to record tonight, I got about 12 minutes of Steve action. Got to play Enderman. Feels really comfortable, actually. He's a little faster than I thought, but he's got like these weird angles as well. I apologize, my audio goes all weird. It says I have a poor connection, so.
You sound fine.
But anyway. But Smash Brothers is pretty cool. Steve seems pretty cool. I'll have to pick up those Mii costumes here soon. But
Nice.
I'm excited. I am excited to spar against him. He's got a lot of edge game, and young Link has some trouble with that sometimes. And so I'm kind of curious to see how I can overcome his weird edge game mechanics. So that'll be kind of fun. And then also college, I got confirmed that I'm going to be going to school. It's 1150 Academy for coding. Start in November and then end in May. Hopefully graduate and
Better.
have a coding job to
Congrats.
spring on.
Congratulations,
That's
man.
fantastic.
So.
Wow.
I think that's a really
Yeah.
good fit for you too.
I do too.
I hope it goes well.
It's kind of like, why didn't you do it sooner type of thing, to be honest. Like,
Well, better
it
late
makes
than
so
never.
much sense.
Learning
Right.
basic computer code, and then hopefully from here I can jump on into C# and Unity and start working on my AR VR experience. So
Ryan wanted to always go to DigiPen back in the day.
I was not smart enough
Because
for that.
Nintendo Power?
Yeah, yeah, pretty much.
He always, that's where he always wanted to go.
My math was terrible, so they never would have let me in. But
Yeah, me too.
Still.
What made you think of
would've
it,
been-
Ryan? What made you want to go back?
honestly, just I saw a friend on Facebook, and I saw that they went to 1150. I was like, okay, what's 1150? I'll check it out. And it was like coding. I'm like, okay, cool. And then they have some free coding classes. I'll log on there and check them out. And I signed up for the classes, and both times something came up, so I couldn't actually attend the class. But then they sent me this like admission thing and said, hey, check us out. I'm like, why not? Let's go ahead and just like apply. Just have fun with it. And then I found out like with the Indiana the CARES Act or whatever, and some other kind of finagling, I guess. I was able to go to the school for basically free. I had to put $250 down, which is refundable if I graduate. So, and then like as long as the funding's there, and if not, I'll pay it back. No problem. I've paid student loans before or what have you, but it seems like it's not going to cost me a dime, out of pocket, other than it's going right back in my pocket anyway. So
Cool.
as long as I keep up with the schoolwork and everything, it'll be pretty fun. I'm a little anxious because I might be starting a new job too, so balancing new school plus balancing new job is going to be a bit intense.
What's
But,
the new job?
I don't know if it's going to happen. I just submitted a resume to a place that it's basically the place where I work now operates off of a online software
Yeah.
by this company called Ginger, and they have opportunities in customer service right now, and then also because I'm doing coding, I could potentially go into the coding side of things
Cool.
and work with them on coding. So
Well,
if I get my foot in the door, it'd be an easy transition into having a coding job
Right.
and everything from where I am. So it'd be a good positioning. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, and I'll find some other coding thing once I get through schooling. But
well, the Lord's will be done, man. You're doing good
yeah,
stuff.
definitely.
It's great. We're happy for
Um,
you.
Mhm.
My life's taken a great turn right now. I am a lot better place than I was last week and the weeks before that, and in fact for a couple of years now. So things
Good.
are really looking up, and I'm really happy. There's big weights off my shoulders, and I'm
for you.
happy now. And it's praise God for all of that. It's just wonderful.
Great.
So
That's awesome.
yeah, I'm in a good place, and I'm also talking about my used to be all-time favorite game.
Oh,
so
that kind of hurts to hear, to be honest. That really pains me to hear.
Retro is retro. I mean, it's my all-time favorite retro game. So there you go.
Until Breath of the Wild becomes retro.
I don't know. I think Breath of the Wild, I could say, will be my favorite series, but like series of games. But it's like Super Metroid might be my favorite. I don't know. It depends on if they come out with a really banger Metroid. It won't take much. It'll take like just an amazing Metroid game that wows me to unseat Breath of the Wild probably. But they got to do really good on that.
And that
so.
sells amazing.
Yeah.
I don't even care if it sells amazing, if it's just amazing to play. Like if it's my own personal experience and no one else really like picked up on it, they're lost.
Right.
It'll be my Metroid.
It's true. That's what you get with The World Ends With You.
Yeah, definitely that kind of feel.
I did see. Side note before you get into the topic, I did see someone on it was like Nintendo voice chat forums, whatever, on Facebook.
Mhm.
Someone was posting like, "Who else do you want in Smash?" And someone wanted Deku. Or
Yeah, Neku.
And that wasn't
Deku or
Ryan?
Neku?
it World Ends With You, guy.
Okay.
And
Sorry.
it wasn't Ryan because
Neck.
Ryan's the
Okay.
only person
No.
I've heard that wants.
I know. I was surprised.
I'm not the only one.
You might be.
No, it might have been on Twitter, one of the two. But
I am really looking forward to the anime though that's coming for The World Ends With You.
You know what? It might, if that anime is a hit, that franchise could get new life. And
Yeah, definitely.
having that dude in Smash one day could actually be a possibility if that cartoon takes off and that franchise.
Don't toy with my emotions like that.
I'm just saying, it totally could happen.
I know. Oh, it'd be so cool.
At the
And
same
it
time,
would
though, it
be-
didn't really happen with like Castlevania. I thought the Castlevania anime would like light the world on fire and kind of spark this new interest in Castlevania, but it just kind of seems like it's made for the fans who've already been getting the games. But you never know with those types of things. I mean, The Witcher, from what I hear, is doing really well. So who knows what The World Ends
I
with
mean,
You.
it did get him in
could be.
Smash, so we got Castlevania characters in Smash now.
Yeah,
But
that's a good point.
true.
You're right.
It's true.
And I feel like Neku would be a kind of almost like a better choice than Sora in a way, because Sora has all these Disney properties attached to it. So I feel like Neku could
That'd be hard to do.
more realistic.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just feel like he has like a better style to him in a way. You know, he's kind of like a stylish Sora to me, at least.
They both could pull it. I could see how they could both pull them off. They'd have to be probably wouldn't be able to do anything Disney with Sora, or it'd be really, really like, oh, that's obscure, or like a shadow of Mickey in the background or something.
Right.
Like you never know. But you could have Sora's friends like join in there in the Final Smash or something. But now to kind of take the edge off this like thirst for playing like a 3D Metroid game, because I'm not playing Prime until the Prime trilogy comes to Switch, if it ever does,
Yeah.
or Metroid Prime 4, whichever comes first. So I picked up More Fight, and I played a little bit of that, and it has that Metroid Prime feel. Scanning is awful in the game, but just it's cool, like indie game, and it's kind of fun.
More
So,
fight. Hey, can I just say real quick how hot it is that my girlfriend's playing my Switch behind me? Like, that's pretty hot. Laid out on the couch. Eating a chocolate
you didn't need to say that, dude. It was obvious all over your face.
I know it's obvious, but I just had to point it out so all of our listeners will hear that. on
You've heard it 1,000 times, but she's a keeper.
Yeah, they said she's a keeper. Speaking of hot girls, man, why don't we transition into the topic we got here, you know?
What are you talking about?
The robot?
Yeah,
So
the
you
robot.
mean the age-old question: how you make Metroid crawl? So, here we go. My all-time favorite game, up until Breath of the Wild, asterisk. Super Metroid. We are finally here. We are finally doing this episode. This was super special to me. I have fought a bunch to try to get guests on for the show, and no one really panned out and went well with it. So it's just the three of us, like, going at this game. Leading up to this game, Chris and I was able to work together to beat the game, get most of the power-ups. I think we had, was it 90-something%? Something like that?
Yeah, yep. I think it was 90.
It was, close to 100%, And Chris got to experience that with some walkthrough stuff. I kind of picked up the slack towards at the end, just because there's some really technical stuff with grapple beam and things like that that get and wall jumps and everything, and techniques and stuff that if you haven't been playing it obsessively for years over and over and over again, you're probably not going to pick it up in a quick playthrough before an episode that we're recording. So, but it was so much fun playing with you, Anne, and I hope you did enjoy every bit of the ride. I know you took some notes for this, so hopefully we'll see some of those notes come up in this show.
Yeah, thank you so much for doing that with me. I mean, I'll probably get into it, but it was something I've been meaning to do for literally well over a decade. Just trying to just play Super Metroid. I'd never even expected to beat it. So the fact that we were able to do both and we could do it together, even during a viral pandemic where we can't even be together, and to like do that handoff feature was awesome. So
yeah,
so thankful that we were able to do that. It worked perfectly. You were the perfect guide. It was great. So thanks for doing that.
Thank you. Yeah. So before we get into the meat of the game, let's talk about our memories, our nostalgic memories just with Metroid and our experiences with it. And it's Super Metroid specifically. this may not have been your first Super Metroid, or might have been your first Metroid game, but this is something that I'm kind of curious to see where you guys started. This definitely got me in the Metroid series. For me, I went over to my cousin's house, and they lived, probably 30 to 45 minutes away out in the country. And their dad had this huge TV. And next to that huge TV was this little tiny tube TV that we hooked up the SNES to. And we all crammed around it, all four of us, sometimes five, and played Super Metroid together. And we all tried to figure that out. We just do that for hours. And then they forced us to go outside and play outside, but we'd always find ways to come back inside and play Metroid again. So like Super Metroid was awesome to experience, and all of us to work together. It was kind of a community thing, and so that's why like playing with you, Chris, with the handoff feature felt very much like that. Just like sitting like on the floor on a TV that's on the floor, like just gaming together, like kind of working through things, talking about stuff and our experiences and how we figured things out, and it's really cool. So, Jacob, what was your experience, first experience in Super Metroid?
Yeah, so I really didn't get to experience Super Metroid until the Wii days. It was late 2006-ish. Maybe later. It was later than that, dude. It was way later than that because you let me borrow it. I kind of get it mixed up. I remember borrowing your Super Nintendo before I had a Super Nintendo, and you let me borrow it, and I played the game and I beat it. But I can't remember when that happened. Unfortunately, it's one of those memories that escaped me. But I do remember playing it that way, but I also remember playing it getting really bored from the transition from Wii to Wii U. Like, there was no new games. There was nothing coming. The Wii was on the horizon, so, like, just really there was nothing happening besides the launch of the Wii U about to happen. And I remember getting home from tour. Got back from my first big band tour. Just married. Feels like a lifetime ago. I had just gotten married, and it was the winter. And I remember just being so hyped for new Nintendo stuff. So I went back, and I'm pretty sure that's what it was. That was my second playthrough, and I replayed the game that way on my Wii Virtual Console as I just waited for the new Nintendo to get here. So, that's really my biggest memories with it. When did I borrow it? It had to have been in high school or something like that.
Yeah, I got rid of my Super Nintendo to get my 64, so I am pretty sure that's how it panned out anyway.
No way. You had a different Super Nintendo in the future, because I didn't. I played this way later, like after 64 days, after GameCube days. That's when I borrowed it.
Maybe my grandma had a Super Nintendo might.
Yeah, you let me take, because I remember in our GameCube days, you let me borrow your Super Nintendo, and I took it on a family vacation once. I have like footage of my mom playing Mario Bros. All Stars and stuff on it.
Okay, so what I think happened was my grandma got a hold of the Super Nintendo because she knew that me and the cousins loved playing Super Nintendo and Metroid.
Yeah.
So she got one for her house, and I convinced her to let you borrow it for your trip. It was so random.
There you go.
So it wasn't actually mine, but it was kind of everybody's Super Nintendo. Okay, yeah, I completely forgot about that.
So my brain's a little fuzzy on exactly when I played it the first time, but I definitely remember that second playthrough of the game on my Wii as I waited for the Wii U days and to start up. And man, the game in general is obviously I want to dive into it, but it was a great experience, and I was glad that I could just add that to the checklist of games that I beat and played through. Especially becoming a huge Metroid fan in recent years, where I pretty much played all the other Metroids before Super Metroid, like minus the original one. I've beaten the original now thanks to save something that's classic, but I had beaten Fusion, Prime 1, 2, 3, Super, or I had beaten Zero Mission, I had beaten Other M, like. So Super Metroid, I beat Super Metroid before Other M. But yeah, I had played pretty much at that point all the games, Metroid games, minus the original, and beaten them. So it was definitely a treat to come back to like the legendary game. That like this is like what set the standard. This is what Ryan obsessed over, and loved up and down, and I was excited to experience it for the first time.
Metroid was a whole another level of cool as a kid.
Oh yeah.
Pokemon was cool, but no, Metroid was even better. So, so Chris, did you have any experience with Super Metroid before our playthrough? Was there any time that you maybe picked it up and dabbled with it or anything like that?
Not really with Super Metroid. I do remember that my first encounter with the Metroid franchise in general was actually with Super Smash Bros. 64. And
Nice.
I always heard about this franchise, but from what I remember, I was just like, okay, there's this robot, it's in space, looks pretty cool, has a cool outfit, and then I got Smash Brothers Melee, excuse me, for Christmas when the GameCube came out, and when I started reading the descriptions and the trophies and listening to the music from the franchise and looking
Yeah.
at the unique art style of the stages, I was just so intrigued, and I'm like, what is this revered Nintendo staple franchise that I keep hearing about? And then the next year Metroid Prime came out.
Yeah.
And I figured, this is my first way to dabble into this franchise. I was disappointed that there wasn't a Banjo-Kazooie adventure game, so I'm like, let me
Sure.
try and experiment with this new style of an adventure
Yeah.
game. So I had a new console, I wanted a new type of adventure, and I heard good things about it, and I loved Metroid Prime, and so I'm glad that I was able to kind of get a feel for what the Metroid franchise is about, and that I didn't start with some other like weirdo knockoff Metroid title. But I just loved the genius level design and the music and the enemies and stuff. But in regards to Super Metroid, I didn't play it until, similar to Jacob, until like it came out on the Virtual Console on the Wii. I know for sure I got it on the Wii U Virtual Console as like one of those free Club Nintendo giveaways as they like
Yeah.
closed the service. So I was like, of course I gotta get this.
Yeah.
But I only played it for a little bit. It's hard to play as an adult because it's easy to kind of put it to the side and then go
Yeah.
back a few weeks later and be like, okay, where am I? But I did love what I played with it, but I will never forget that Ryan and I played it pretty consistently. I'm very proud of us for that, by the way, from beginning to end. And it was that was great. I don't have enough good things to say about it. It was such a fun new experience because we could play it online and hand things off to each other. And Ryan, you just pointed out all these awesome things that I never would have noticed before. So I personally will never forget that, and I'm just so glad that I was able to finally beat the game and play the game and appreciate it for what it was.
So sweet.
Yeah. So there was that's going to be my future nostalgia for the game. So that was
Cool.
really, really fun.
Awesome.
When did you guys start playing the game?
I think a month ago.
Good question.
About a month ago?
It took us 3 sessions.
Yeah.
Dang.
do it.
Yeah.
3 long
So-
sessions. How many? Were, like a couple hours?
Yeah, I think like 3 or so hours each time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 to 4.
Yeah.
Dude. Are you still playing Donkey Kong Country 2?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm taking a break from that, but I think I'll jump back to it since
Total side.
Super Metroid's out of the way.
Total side note, we should play through that together, like you and Ryan did.
Oh
Metroid.
yeah, I forgot we can do that
Yeah.
now. It just got added. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so
Spot on.
down. Yep. Let's do it. Yep.
Sorry, back on track. What were you saying, Ryan?
Mhm.
So, with Metroid Prime, did you unlock the original Metroid and play it there?
Oh no! How do you do that again? Is that like you connect Metroid Fusion or something?
Yeah. Well,
You got the fusion suit from that, I believe.
what, on Prime?
Yeah.
There was a way you could play Metroid. You could play the original Metroid on Metroid Prime,
Yeah.
and then I think you could play the original Metroid on Metroid Zero Mission. But I don't know if you unlocked the original on Fusion. I don't think. I think you can only play it in Prime.
No, you by connecting it, I think that allowed you. You got the fusion suit, but it also allowed you to play the original Metroid on Metroid Prime.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was kind of curious about that, if you had some experience with the earlier one before that. But
Well, Ryan,
so
I am really jealous that you got to experience Super Metroid at like a young age and have nostalgia
Yeah.
for it, because it's one of those games
Right.
where when you play it, it's just like, oh man, this is so genius. I wish I experienced this with like a fresh young mind, and just got lost in this game and explored everything. So I am
That would
happy
have
for you
freaked
that
me out.
yeah. So
I had the School of Hard Knocks with no strategy guides and just friends to work with. So it's definitely a different time. And then we had spans of months where I didn't get to go over to my cousins, so we didn't get to play it then. And it was a long time before I actually had my own copy. So, but we'd always like come back to it, and it seemed like they never really played it unless we were there. It sort of always seemed like, or maybe they had a separate save file or something. I don't know. But
Well,
it was cool to be able to experience that.
For the record, Ryan knows Super Metroid like the back of his hand, and I have never met anyone who knows more about anything than Ryan knows about Super Metroid. He knows every secret of every room, where to go, what to do, the best way of doing things. So he's like a walking human Wikipedia or like wiki for Super Metroid. So that was entertaining in its own way.
Did you guys 100% it?
No, 90%. Yeah.
We were doing it. We weren't going to go back and get everything.
Okay.
So we got 90%. We did fail to make that jump right before. You had to make it across to grab that missile tank before he dropped through the floor, and they had to go up against that golden Chozo in Norfair.
Oh, okay. Oh, I know what you're talking about.
That jump where you had to go all the way back around again. We never had to go back around and get that.
No.
We just kind of went towards the end at that point.
Yeah, no.
Well,
But we got most everything.
should I give a few like background details about the game itself?
Yeah, like what?
Absolutely. And we can talk about the intro and the story is really what I wanted to highlight next. So let's go
When did
for
it
it.
come out first?
So Super Metroid came out March 19th, 1994, which is crazy that it came out like so early in the 90s,
Japan.
as considering how much of a masterpiece it is.
Right.
As everyone knows, it came out for the Super Nintendo. It was developed by Nintendo R&D 1, and surprisingly, I didn't know this, also Intelligent Systems, which a lot of people know through games like Paper Mario and I believe Fire Emblem. So, these are people who really know their stuff and know how to make really intricate, complex games. There's been many ports since, but something that I thought was really interesting is that I was curious to see what the genre was labeled like a few years ago, because Super Metroid, as many of us know, kind of went on to pioneer this new genre that is insanely popular right now, that's named after it. So it's labeled as an action adventure game, which makes perfect sense, but it inspired this subgenre of action adventure games called Metroidvania games. And this is a type of genre where there's an interconnected map. There's lots of different obstacles, and as you discover new items and power-ups, you're able to make progress in that way, and you're encouraged to explore and experiment. And there's this very intricate level design. But something I think is important to bring up about this game is the gaming landscape that existed at the time. So in 1994, this was kind of towards the end of the Super Nintendo's lifespan. So, this was a transition, or going to be a transition, from 2D games to 3D games. So Super Metroid unfortunately came out at a very weird time, where we were looking forward to the PlayStation, Sega Saturn, and a new hot game came out at the time called Donkey Kong Country, which kind of gave these these pseudo 3D graphics, that kind of a look. So it did come out at a very odd time, but I'm glad that it is experiencing this new cult following ever since. So just wanted to throw that out there.
So the story sets up basically right after the events of Metroid 2, which is Jacob's first Metroid game.
Yeah.
The Metroid, she takes down the Metroid Queen and stumbles upon this Metroid egg as she's exiting the planet, and the Metroid hatches right in front of her and decides to follow her along. So she's like, okay, I'll take it, pass it off to the Galactic Federation, have them study it. So this takes place to the point where she leaves the planet and goes to the Galactic Federation ship or station and drops off the Metroid to them. And then she goes off on her way, and then she gets a distress signal from the station. She has to go back, and Ridley comes on the scene and devastates, kills the scientists and steals the Metroid, and you have to basically you try to save Ridley, or try to save the Metroid from Ridley. There's a section where at the beginning intro, like, you can actually defeat Ridley in a way where Ridley actually drops the Metroid, and then Ridley will come back, grab the Metroid, and zoom off into
I did not know that.
the foreground. So you can actually survive long enough to take out Ridley, and it'll drop the Metroid canister, and then he'll go back and pick it up, and then zoom off. So yeah, you can't beat him there. So there's cool little things that you can do alternate in the game, throughout the game and the story. It's really neat. And the way that they tell the story wordlessly, other than the beginning where it says the last Metroid is in captivity, the galaxy is at peace.
Yeah.
Anything past that is like they've got some typing stuff going on, but that was all spoken text too. And then they've got a couple words, and that's it. And the rest is just silent. And you basically experience this like a silent movie. No subtitles, nothing, and it tells this beautiful story, and it's a story of loneliness, of some very scary moments, and just exploring this vast planet, taking down all these enemies as you go along, and dealing with the plant life and the fauna.
Yeah.
I thought it was really interesting how it incorporated world building into its like graphical design. So as you're playing the game, you'll notice these little details, like a fallen soldier, like the body of a fallen soldier, or a cracked Metroid tank in the background or something like that. So through those like visual cues, you kind of get an idea of what the history of this area is, and kind of what you can expect, and it kind of tells a story through those methods, I guess.
It's crazy, like how they used those elements to tell that story. Like when you land on the planet, it's very cloudy. There's even a rainy effect that you can see, if I remember right.
Yeah.
At points, and going through, finding your first Chozo statue, it even takes you through the initial Metroid experience, the first game. You actually go through the old area early on in the game, where you come in from the side where you defeated Mother Brain the first time, and you go through that whole area that you went through in the original Metroid, working your way through, exploring the old, blown up portion of the planet, and everything seems dead up until the point you grab the morph ball, and the place seems to wake up. And it's such a cool effect to feel like, oh, well, this was deserted and everything, but no, there's something sinister going on here.
Yeah.
And that kind of opens up the whole story of, oh, I've got to figure out why this eye just opened up and started scanning me, and when I go up the elevator, why these tikis like turned and looked at me with their glowing eyes, as I'm going up the elevator. Like the story that they told within the world is just the subtle things. It's really cool.
I was going to say, that was the one thing that really stood out to me the most. I thought it was so cool that you go down and you're you are going back from the pathway that you left from the first Metroid game. You are going back, and you are seeing. I don't feel like a video game hadn't really done that yet. At least not from Nintendo. It's not like Mario World took you back to the first foundational steps of Mario 1, This game took you back to an old video game, gave you an image of what this world would have looked like in a 16-bit graphic era. At that point, you hadn't seen any remakes of the original Metroid, so it was just really fascinating. Because by the time I was playing Super Metroid, I had dabbled in the original Metroid, and the furthest I got was. Really, the furthest I ever got in the original Metroid game was to the Kraid lair on my own. Outside of that, though, you're used to seeing the same crap over and over because you die so easily and so often in that game. So it was really cool to just see these familiar territory. However, like what you said, everything was dead. It was gone. It was just like, well, this is like ruins of what happened from my first adventure. But then, yeah, that thing scans you, and all of a sudden, you realize like there's something else going on. There's something deeper. Literally, there's something deeper here, and you find all these new rooms, and you pretty much wake up the enemies that Samus is back, and you better get out there, or she's going to ruin our plans again.
Yeah, the game has such a unforgettable ending. Like when I think about the game, the ending is I'm sorry, not the ending. The beginning is just so memorable and so
Ending's good too.
Yeah, yeah. It really hooks you with all the unique things that you encounter along the way in the beginning, and throughout the entire game, my favorite part is these different cinematic moments that happen during the game, and some of them are kind of like fake outs in a way, and they kind of play with that as you go on with the story, like these kind of teases and callbacks to previous events of the game, and even previous games in general. So yeah, this game has just such a high production value that very few other games at that time had. And even looking back at it, I played it 20 years after it came out. I can still appreciate how much effort and detail were put into things like that.
Yeah.
I know we're talking a bit about more about the story, and we're not going to go into like spoilers or anything like that, but just the story that they were able to tell with the music as well, and the feelings they were able to pull out at the right times.
Yeah.
It was just beautiful. Like the composer on this game just did a top-notch job in what they were able to pull out of the SNES, and just the sound effects and the different creatures made different noises and things.
Hot take,
And
I
the
don't
screams
actually
and stuff.
really like the music on this game very much.
Oh, that is a very hot take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really
Everyone
surprised to
loves-
hear that.
Everyone loves that underground, like, grassy area when you start getting into it, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I don't...
Yikes.
It doesn't really fit Metroid to me, you know? I was actually really disappointed when I got to the Kraid area, because I love the original Kraid music from the original... The dun, 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 dun. I wanted like a 16-bit remix of that song, and it wasn't there. And I was disappointed with what I got in return. No, I'm not saying every song in the game is bad. No, I think the intro is set up very good. I think they did a great job at setting the mood and the atmosphere, especially when you come from the intro, when you're landing in, like you talk about the storm and the dark presence you get. That's really good. You know, I just never felt like the soundtrack blew me away. I just thought, so it's okay. You know, I don't see why it's so fascinating, but. Yeah, that's my hot take.
Yeah, absolutely.
Music.
Very hot take.
Welcome it. You know, the sound that they put in to the different creatures, like the Metroid trill, I love that sound. Like when you just sit on the start screen and it plays that sad, like scary kind of music.
Very creepy.
Like
It's kind of
screechy in a
forlorn.
way.
yeah.
And you hear like the trills and screeches of the Metroid there too, like, and you see it moving, but you see all the dead bodies laid out. Like it's a gruesome scene in that start screen.
I get a lot of X-Files feel from that intro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never even saw the
definitely.
show, but I know what you mean.
Very X-Files-y from those 90s, you know.
I thought the music was just masterful. I do understand in a way what you mean, Jacob. For me personally, it at first wasn't exactly what I was looking for. At the time was more used to more upbeat and catchy songs, and in a way, the music in Super Metroid is a bit catchy, but you know, like you said, it's very atmospheric, it's moody, it has this like menacing tone to it, and it is, you know, a little catchy. I kind of got like Michael Jackson vibes with some of the songs in a way.
Yeah.
I was listening to some of the songs on my way over here actually, and like I honestly, I really recommend listening to it in the car. There's just so many different layers that you don't notice when you're like playing on the TV.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I think it's a very interesting experiment in video
Yeah.
game music, especially for the type of genre that it is. But you do get this sense that I'm on a planet by myself. I'm about to embark on this massive adventure, and I have a job to do, and there's a lot of uncertainty and mystery involved, and
Yeah.
there's going to be a lot of surprises on the way. But
Man.
the music has a lot of variety as well. So you get some like
Yeah.
actiony kind of sounds, and some very real calming songs. I wish I knew what some of them were, but and also coming from a Metroid Prime fan, I
Yeah.
loved that Metroid Prime took some of these amazing songs from Super Metroid and kind of revamped them and made them into its own thing on Metroid Prime and in future sequels. So I personally love the music and also the sound design as well. Like what Ryan said with the Metroid kind of screech at the beginning.
Oh,
It's so
so
eerie, but it just sets the tone so well.
Dude. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
um,
What about
there's
Go ahead.
one cool element that they did was the bosses. As you hit
Yeah.
them, they change colors, and that was really most apparent, I think, at first when you're fighting Spore Spawn, which is the plant boss,
Yeah.
or the mini boss. And as you hit this green plant, it starts to turn brown and dies. And then when you finally take down Spore Spawn, the husk is still there. It's just brown, and like the whole background even turns the same color. Like the whole room was this creature.
Yeah.
That's
It was
cool.
such a cool element
Yep.
there to tell that story. Like the whole room was the boss. It's just wow.
Yeah.
It's so cool. And then there's like the part of the planet that's like beautiful, like basically cherry blossoms falling all over the place, and it's a really pretty area. Just wow, the world is living and breathing, and how they did that. And there's so much to explore. And there's a lot of creepy elements to this game. It is definitely in the horror genre.
I would love to just see like a modern take on it. Like, I know that's speculating here, but like, we had those rumors of a Super Metroid remake, and like, man, just with modern graphics and just with seeing what they did on the 3DS, just with Metroid 2, like they showed a lot more depth. Like they showed like detail of the dead soldiers that showed up on SR 388. Like they just showed their campsite stuff that you had to make up in your mind from what you read in the book that came with the game. But now, like with modern graphics, we could really get a more in-depth, full-fledged story here of what happened on Super Metroid, and because they did such a fantastic job in a limited area. So imagine what they could do now, is what I'm saying, I guess.
I love how even to this day there's still new things that I'll catch and I'll see that I never saw before. That's really cool to have those experiences. Oh, I never looked at it like that. Like there's one room that looks like Samus's visor, but then there was like a reverse, and I always thought, oh, it's just like a weird like upside down version. But Chris pointed out like, no, that's the shape of a Metroid. I'm like, it is. It's like an 8-bit Metroid. Like that. That's what the room was shaped like.
Huh.
And I just never
Never
would
knew
have
that.
thought about that. Like
Yeah,
that.
you beat me to it. That was one of my favorite discoveries with you, because I wouldn't have pointed. What am I saying? I wouldn't have noticed that room looked like a visor or a Metroid or whatever until we started, noticing it and talking about it and kind of like speculating and stuff. So if you really pay attention and observe all these little details, it just really makes you appreciate what they were trying to create with this type of game. And that's such a great example of that room being attached to the creature and its life, going away with it once you beat it. And they just thought so hard about these details to make this world so believable and this living, breathing thing, even though it's so foreign to us. So all these great surprises just really make you appreciate and and enjoy the experience that much more. And it's very uncommon in a lot of games. Not many games go to this great length to make a gaming experience so, I hate to use this word, but like delightful in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Was there any key moments that, like, areas in the game that really, like, just stand out to you the most? What's your most favorite part, I guess, of the game is what I'm getting at here. Chris, since it's more newer in your mind, what about you? What do you think back on?
There's a lot now that I think of it. I particularly liked Kraid. I went into this game not knowing that he was even in it, and so that was a really cool surprise because at the time I only knew him from, I guess Smash Brothers Melee, where he's like in the background of the stage. So I finally got to play a game where he is the boss, and he was a large one too. So I just thought the way he was animated was cool. What was that?
Did you know he was supposed to be the boss in Metroid Prime? He was supposed to, remember when he fought the Omega Pirate?
Yeah.
He got the plasma suit. That was supposed to be Kraid, but they changed it.
I was talking to Ryan about that. I'm pretty upset about that because that would have been so cool. But hey, Metroid Prime 4, you never know.
I'm kind of glad they did change it. I mean, I want to fight Kraid in a 3D world, but...
Right.
You haven't?
I mean, Ryan, that game does not count. It's not a real Metroid game. Nintendo Land.
Come on. Nintendo Land counts.
That Omega, it wouldn't have made sense story-wise because it's an entirely different planet. So, like, it would have, like, really messed with me if they fought.
But it was Mecha. It was Mecha Kraid.
No. But anyways, back to what you were saying. You loved the Kraid.
Oh yeah, Kraid was cool. I think my favorite moments stem from all the awesome boss fights. They're all so unique and different, and they all have these like weird surprises and fake outs and teases and stuff. So I liked Kraid. I really liked that one where it becomes a skeleton, kind of like you
Crocomire.
Yeah, it's like you think you defeat it, and then it comes back, but now it's a skeleton or something like that. So that was
that one freaked me out as a kid.
Yeah, I almost screamed actually
when I first played it.
When Ryan and I were playing it. I was like, "Oh, don't scream! You're a man."
It is. No, it is. It's really shocking. You don't expect that. You think you've won, and you think like, "Ooh, that was a close call," and then it comes back. That was. I'm with you on that, buddy.
Yeah. And actually, one of my favorite moments, sorry, just a quick thing. One of my moments was actually made from Ryan because one of the bosses, according to Ryan, there's like different ways of approaching how you beat him. So I think Dragon is his name, like the underwater one, I think it was.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so Ryan electrocuted him, which I don't think is the traditional way of beating him. So I thought that was pretty interesting, how there's a variety of methods for you to approach that kind of.
I was going to say, when I originally fought him, I didn't know about that, and I had to kill him. I killed him the old-fashioned way, which is hard and frustrating, and you died a lot. But no, I'm mind blown. The fact that you can let that thing hold on, and you grab the electricity, and then you basically instant kill it.
Yep.
This huge boss that is supposed to be hard, and there's a whole pathway to figuring out how to beat it, and you could just kill it like that. It's like, what?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That was really cool.
It's like the minecart level in Donkey Kong. You could just jump in that barrel and skip all of that.
Yeah. You don't know. That's a good point. It's funny how there's a lot of Donkey Kong and Metroid similarities, honestly.
And Chris showed me something I didn't know. The boss that I have the most trouble with, Fantoon, which brings me to my favorite area of the game. But yeah, Fantoon, Chris just made quick work of him, like really fast. And what he did differently was if you hit Fantoon with different weapons, he reacts differently. He does different attacks and does like... Chris never once saw the fire wave that comes in the arc from both sides. He never once saw that because he just used standard missiles against him. No charge beam, no super missiles, just standard missiles. And he was able to just like mow right through him.
It's cool.
Fantoon. Wow. It was like, I've never seen anyone do it that quickly before. I have so much trouble on him, and he made it look so easy. like even easier than Dragon.
Don't get used to it, because I am awful at pretty much every game, so I'm flattered, to say the least.
That's cool. That's cool that you, even after all this time, and as much as we play, that you discovered something new like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know. I'm really
Um,
surprised considering how much you've played it, and I was just playing it the way that I normally would have. And if I wasn't playing with you, I would have just been like, "Well, that was that."
I usually die like 2 or 3 times. I have to save back at the ship, so it's a long trek to get back to the
Yeah.
to the wreck ship
Right.
and go down there and fight him again.
The wreck ship's
without
cool.
save states.
Yeah.
Why is that your favorite area, Ryan? You didn't say that. Why?
Just because the story that they tell there. Once you basically go into this wreck ship and all the power is sapped out of it. Like there is no power whatsoever. All the robots are powered off. And then you go and you fight Fantoon, and once you defeat Fantoon, like the power comes back on again. The place comes alive, and the robots start moving. There's these like atom-looking
Yeah.
enemies that break out of their holding, and the ghosts that were surrounding the whole place disappear. There's like these like skeleton clusters
Yeah.
that appear before the power comes on. But once the power comes on, that all goes away, and the ship comes alive. But it's also a very damaged ship, so there's electricity everywhere, and sparking out and everything. There's like frayed wires, and there's just you kind of explore through those wreckage of the ship, and you get to a certain point where you see Metroids displayed on monitors throughout this one room, and it's really cool to see that and know that like there was some kind of connection with Metroid here, and I think I want to say it was Ridley's ship. That crash landed there. I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I was going to ask. There's a story behind that, but I don't really think.
I think it was. I can't remember exactly what the lore was there with that ship. But yeah, again, they're showing that those Metroids there, and then just some of the puzzles and stuff is fun. Like you go into this Chozo statue and it comes to life and it carries you across these spikes, but then it starts to go down into the spikes and you start to panic like, oh no, these spikes are coming up to me. What do I do? And you just go right through them.
Yeah.
And and it doesn't even hurt you. And it's cool to have that Chozo statue carry you. And then of course getting the gravity suit is just one of the coolest things in the game. To get that maneuverability and that kind of defense against attacks and things. Like you get definitely a good upgrade on your armor. And then just how you can move and everything. And it's just a really cool area. I absolutely love experiencing the wrecked ship and all that it has to show. And the puzzles, like there's one where you hit those robots into pits, and then you could use those robots as gaps to do a speed boost across all of them.
Yeah.
To get to a reserve tank boost. And there's like lots of different like little intricate tricks you can do to get power-ups in the area. It's fun. I really enjoyed that area and just the story that it tells there. There's so much mystery in the wreck ship. Like, where did this come from? Why is it displaying Metroids? Like, plus there's this ghost squid boss that saps all the energy, from the place. And it's just, there's so much told in such a small space. It's really cool because it's a really small place on the map, but I love the personality and the story they told there. What about you, Jacob?
I really, and this can kind of segue into the topic we wanted to get to a little bit here at the end, but, I really am, ultimately what I love about Metroid more than anything is I love the story. It always engages me. I always want to know more. That's why I get so frustrated that we don't get as much Metroid news as we do get, like, Zelda games and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want more Metroid. I want the story unfolded. And that leads me to my point is, like, probably... I'm not going to be cliche and say the final boss fight is my favorite because even though it's amazing and I love it, it's up there. I want to say it's the scene right before that. I really love when you finally get, like, you basically annihilated. It's a repeat of what happens in the first Metroid game. You kill all these other Metroids that were basically test subjects down there. You kill them all. And then you get to the very end, but then there's one more Metroid and it's massive. And you basically... You think, like, I'm screwed. Nothing I'm doing is going to fix this. I can't beat it. But then it stops on its own, and it realizes it's the baby. It's the baby that got stolen in the beginning. It's your friend. It's the one you rescued. And it recognizes you and realizes, oh, no, I don't want to hurt you. You're my mommy, basically. And gives you back your energy. I thought that was a really cool moment. It was really touching. It was... And then it kind of runs off, like, almost like it's going to go cry because it hurt mom, It was just, it really was an intimate moment that they showed between Samus and the Metroid again. which then leads up to the ever heartbreaking part at the very end of the game. Which spoilers, we won't say it. Something happens. So don't play Other M. It spoils it right away. So.
Hyper-V.
Yeah, so I really liked that part. That whole area down there is cool. It's just you're building up to the final sequence of the game, and which you can, I believe you can actually screw yourself over, and you can there's something there's something bad you can do down there. There's
Public service announcement. Let me tell you, never save in the last save room before the boss.
That's it.
If you save there, you can never go back and explore. You have to start an all new save file. So don't save in that last save room.
Yeah, because you're stuck downstairs entirely. Because you get locked out once you go down there.
Yep. Once you pass the Metroid scene, you can't go back any further. So yeah, don't save on that last save station. There's 2 save stations on Turian. Don't save on that second one.
So. I guess we can kind of segue a little bit into obviously the final boss fight. You fight. It's almost like a repeat of the original game. You shoot Mother Brain, and you think you win, and it's the same fight, but it's not the same fight. Mother Brain goes Super Saiyan on us, and she is hideous. She actually looks scary now. Her normal form isn't scary. It's kind of kind of a lame.
Just a brain with an eye.
It's kind of a lame looking boss, but this finally gives Mother Brain. She made herself a body. She's like, you know what? I'm going to kill you. And it comes for round 2. This game is known for round 2s apparently, and it's amazing. The fight is, and you. I know you don't want to spoil too much here, but recap. What do you think about the final fight, guys?
I don't have too much to say. I think you guys had a good way of phrasing it, but it was just very surprising. I remember when I was playing with you, Ryan, I was just like, oh, okay. I was not expecting that. And it was just a fun way to kind of end the game, and a fun way, a fun twist that, harkened back to old Metroid moments. So I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, it was fun.
I liked that it was foreshadowed that there was more to Mother Brain than just the top layer. When you go to the old place in Super Metroid, you go and explore the old Turian or whatever it was when you first fought Mother Brain in the first one. And if you have, I believe, power bombs, you can actually drop below where she was sitting, and you can go down in a chamber down there and get a power up. I think it's a power bomb expansion, but there's actually more chamber down below there, and that suggests that there could have been more to the body. There could have actually been a body in development then, with that secret there.
I never knew that. Wow.
So you can kind of pick up on that early on. Once you had the power bombs, you could actually drop down below, but then you get to see that, and if you didn't know to look for it, you wouldn't have picked up on that. It's just another, I can explore underneath where Mother Brain was. Cool,
right?
But it's really cool to see that and that progression, and they told such a great story, and much like how Super Metroid, you got to experience the first, you kind of got to go through the first area, or some areas of the first game. You got that kind of in Other M, where you got to experience the older stuff of Super Metroid. You got to see that whole scene in 3D, and it was cool. If that's the only takeaway that you took from that game as Mother M as being good, I don't fault you for that, because that cutscene was really cool to see. That whole play out Super Metroid fight in
Very
3D,
awesome.
So awesome. I got chills when I saw that.
Yeah, it blew me away. Not gonna lie.
The whole game, it doesn't do it justice, but that scene.
I think as we start to close in on the episode here, we need to talk about those animals. The animals that you befriend in the game, and
yep.
They basically teach Samus a bunch of abilities in this game that you didn't have in previous Metroid games up to that point. They're little alien monkeys, a flamingo-looking ostrich bird. Yeah. I think, is that it, or is there anything else?
There is another creature, but it doesn't make it off the planet, unfortunately. The turtle and her babies.
Oh.
Which the turtle actually kind of hurts you, I guess, to protect her babies. But
Well,
The turtle doesn't make it off the planet, but the Etecoons and the Decoras do get off of the planet.
it is a turtle, so it's kind of slow. But
yeah, all the babies and the turtle dies,
but you can
unfortunately.
save them. They're at the very end there. You have the option
If you
to
take a
save them.
detour, the planet's exploding. You got to escape, and you can take a detour if you have the time to go and rescue them.
Which you're not thinking about that because you're like,
No.
all you think is, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get out of here. I gotta get out of here. But once you really, if you get really good at getting out of there, yeah, you can take the detour and have enough time to save them.
And it changes the end of the game slightly.
Yeah, if you save them, it shows them like escaping, doesn't it?
Yep, it shows like an escape pod or something like zooming off from the planet explosion.
Yeah. Can I just ask, why does the whole planet explode here? Like, I don't feel like that the layer literally took up the whole planet.
The first bomb was a time bomb, and it just destroyed the upper surface. Because Turian was so deep into the planet when that bomb went off, it destroyed the core. Caused the whole planet to blow up.
Okay. Wow. Wild. Well, I guess to transition to our last little part here, we wanted to talk about. I know it's we talked about how they showed within the game the cinematics, but today we had a topic that came out on Twitter about the latest Metroid Prime 4 update, how they're looking into finding people to lead more cinematic trailers and whatnot in the next Metroid game, which we didn't really have many of those in the past Metroid games, especially Prime. But we did another M, and people are scared of that. And I feel like they're trying to go more of a cinematic route with this. It suggests that, basically, with this game. I actually think if it's done right, it would be really cool. And maybe that's the hook that Metroid does need, a bit more of a cinematic look and edge to it to make this look like such an attractive game, you know what I mean? Like to really, really just grab people's eyes and attention. Do you guys think this is bad? Because Metroid's always been good at telling the story through the gameplay. Metroid Prime, you scanned everything. We just talked about Super Metroid. The game itself told the story. Or do you think the game in the series, for it to sell better and to just grab more people's attention, they're getting people from successful first-person shooter franchises, like top-of-the-line sellers, working on this game. And if they're going more of a cinematic route, maybe that's a thing that they all have in common, saying, these games sell because they engage here. They engage here. And how will that engagement work in a game if they keep to the formula of isolation and Samus alone, not some random guy killing everybody that gets killed himself? You know what I mean? Like, what do you guys think?
Well, I personally, I'm open to it. I think there's potential there, but I'm a little turned off by that kind of angle personally. I think Metroid is at its best when you figure things out by reading the world and the world around you and figuring things out for yourself. I think that kind of making progress through like this kind of like puzzle mindset is a more engaging way for me to enjoy the game. That's just me personally. I do remember that during Metroid Prime 3, they did take a slightly more cinematic approach with characters talking to you, like, Samus Aran, come to this room with me, and like,
it was kind of crap.
It was impressive and very novel at the time, but looking back, it just kind of turned me off a little bit. It's fine, it's not a big deal, but it's just not.
It took away from Metroid.
Yeah, exactly.
It
yeah,
totally was going for like a Halo feel.
Right. And there's different ways of handling the Metroid franchise, but for me, Metroid's more about the gameplay itself and engaging you that way. I don't know. It's, if you're alone on a planet, there shouldn't be too much of this grand story to tell. I think it's more about the puzzles and obstacles and surprises that you find along the way. I think that Metroid Prime 1 and 2 especially had a great way of doing it, where it was kind of cinematic because it was a 3D game, but it did it in very short, tasteful bits, and I think that is the best way of doing it. But, I'm open to anything that they think would fit the franchise better.
Yeah. Ryan?
I kind of go both ways on that. I don't want to see a lot of what 3 did with the talking and the dialogue with the Federation, fleet, just for the sake of dialogue. It didn't seem they used it as a tutorial in a lot of ways, in other ways, and it was cool working alongside the soldiers, but the day-to-day banter just, I felt like, kind of took you out of that Metroid experience.
Yeah.
In the action scenes, it was kind of cool to, drop in a dropship with them, and they were blowing up doors as you're moving on further, getting deeper into the planet, the phase-on planet and everything. That was really cool to be able to work with them. And I think what they're going with in this next expansion of Metroid is full-on space combat. We're going to see like Star Wars level battles where the Galactic Federation's going up against whatever, space pirates or whatever, and Samus is going to be piloting around. And this is probably the first time we'll be able to fly in space with Samus in some way.
Wow.
And that takes a lot of like strategizing, a lot of planning on cinematics and how they're going to tell that story with those space battles and things like that. I can see this being a grandiose game, but I hope that there's not a lot of words and a lot of senseless banter, and the action scenes are really action-packed and things that get you hyped in movies. Like, I'd love to see that in Metroid, but I also want to get those intimate, like, exploration of planets and still see, like, living, breathing worlds and hear that story told through just the subtle things, too.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things, and music especially ties into your emotions.
Yep.
And that's a thing, like keeping that horror element going. Like the GFS Valhalla definitely pulled off that horror feel, but kind of like a Dead Space almost, and that feel. Like, and they wanted to get that Metroid horror aspect as well. And just like getting all of that to mesh together, you're gonna need a lot of different people to work on something this grand of a scale. So the development team that comes together for this Metroid game, it's gonna be massive. Like if they keep going, and they do other projects and things. Like this is Nintendo's next leap into the future of what we see: flashy graphics, really awesome, epic cinematic experiences.
Right.
And Nintendo games. That's crazy to think, but Nintendo is not the one to sacrifice gameplay, and they've proved that by completely scrapping Prime 4 and starting over because it did not meet their standard. And so we get a game that meets their standard and has all these cinematic things that they can pull from, like in this grandiose, like next generation video game feel. And are we going to get that? Is it going to be amazing on the Switch? Is there going to be a Switch Pro that makes it look even more amazing? Who knows? But, they're already talking about testers, pre-alpha testers going into this game. So there is something out there that some people can play, and it's really cool. And I hope they don't miss the mark on this and go too small scale. Unless it's really intimate and tells that Metroid story silently.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's just going to be grandiose. And I think they're going to have a good, solid multiplayer as well. And I'd love to see that, however that may take place. If it's going to be like a Star Fox Assault thing, land, air, space, or whatever. It'd be pretty cool to see that. And we've seen 2 games now that talk about Silex, so Silex is probably going to be in Prime 4.
He's definitely
whatever that may be, whether he's taking a bounty from the Space Pirates to capture Metroid or whatever, who knows where he ties in and everything. There's
hired to kill Samus by the Space Pirates.
Metroid 2 dropped the hints of, of something to do with potential Chozo lore.
Yep.
And maybe it's not Space Pirates, maybe it's Chozo, maybe it's both. Who knows? There's a whole bunch of things that could go on there. Like, what if there's an evil fleet of Chozo that shows up to fight? And there's something to do with... Prime is at the center here. So maybe Prime was reduced to a microscopic mist or something. Who knows? I always argue that the logo on Prime 4 was phase-on mist. Like, everything exploded, but there was still like a mist left, and that was trying to slowly get spread and stuff. It's an out there theory, but I think that Metroid Prime is going to be... It's more than just a moniker. Yes, they've done Metroids, like Metroid Prime um, hunters didn't have anything to do with Metroid Prime. It was completely removed from that story. So they could say Metroid Prime, just say Prime is the 3D, or they could actually fit Metroid Phazon stuff in there. Maybe they found a way to recreate Phazon. Who knows? Or
Something
anything
else.
could go with the story with that.
Well, guys, I have a question for you actually.
Mm-hmm.
In thinking about Super Metroid's legacy, it's such a classic and it's so beloved by so many people, especially Nintendo fans. How do you think this game holds up today? How well do you think it's aged? Because I have a unique take coming from someone who just recently really played it for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you
Super
guys think?
Metroid.
Hmm.
I think it's perfect. I think it's one of those things that it's not like Mario 1, where we talked about this today in our group chat with Mario 1 and Mario 64. Those games defined genres, but you see how they don't, you just see their age. And
Mm-hmm.
Super Metroid created a genre, defined it, and it was pretty much perfected on the first time they ever did it. And to this day, you can pick that game up and play it and have a blast with it, and you're not like, oh, the controls are a little clunky, or no, like they nailed it. I mean, you talk,
Mm-hmm.
it's almost as perfect that you can get, I think, to a game creating one. So I think it holds up phenomenally, and it looks phenomenally, and yeah, it even sounds phenomenally.
I would say the game isn't perfect, um, but it's darn near close. Um, there's some. It just controls really tight. I think the wall jumping mechanic is really hard to pull off. It's different from any other kind of wall jumping that you'll have. It's really unforgiving. Like, you got to be like perfect on how you do the button presses to get
It's
it
got to be
to get
good,
the rhythm
man.
down.
What's wrong with that?
And so that's not necessarily a bad thing. And I like the wall jumping in that.
No, it
It was
is
a lot
tight.
harder than, when you got in further or later Metroid entries. It was easier to do the wall jump.
Yeah.
But I think the big thing that drags down the experience and shows its age is they did poorly do the grapple beam. The grapple beam mechanic was really difficult to work with. And you could find shortcuts to kind of fling your way through by like using the grapple beam just for a short time to keep your momentum going, and use it again for a short time. You had to be really like precisely timed on how you hit those grapple beam points, and swinging around ridiculously. That doesn't age well. It was a cool mechanic, but I don't think that it really controlled well in Super Metroid. They could have done that a little better, but other than that, like, they've done grapple beams in other games that felt really comfortable, and that was something that needed some growth, and they did improve that as time went on. I say that would be like a very small thing on a otherwise perfect game. Um, I can't fault it for anything else. The music, the mechanics. Other than that, like the exploration, the secrets, like some of those secret power ups and stuff, like those expansions are really, really out there and hard to get.
Yeah, I totally agree with the both of you for the most part. Um, one issue that I had, and Ryan knows this because we were talking while we were playing, is as a new player, as someone who just started this game, some things were just a little too obtuse to me. Like, kind of like the language of the game doesn't really give you clear indicators that this is exactly where you need to go, and this is exactly where this hidden power up is and stuff. So it's not as obvious as a lot of games that have come out after Super Metroid. So that for me took a little bit of getting used to, because you're really on your own and you have to really explore. And for example, the X-ray visor, it shows you a lot of things, but it doesn't show you everything. There are some
Mhm.
secrets that you can't easily notice through the X-ray visor. But like you guys said, the music is incredible. The music is, I'm sorry, the gameplay itself and controls are very tight and responsive. Just a little strange with, like, the grapple beam and that sprite thing. I forgot what it's called. What was it, Ryan? Like, where you
The
run?
shine. Shine Spark?
Yeah, Shine Spark. That was a little odd. So after a while, I did kind of
Or
prefer for you to play because I thought the controls for that.
oh,
were,
the space jump. Oh yeah, the jumping with the space jump is what you're talking about. Yeah.
So it's a very cool feature, but I just found the I don't know. For me personally, and maybe this is just me playing on like a pro controller on the Switch and not the Super Nintendo. It was just a little odd. But yeah, I thought the constant and consistent flow of upgrades, like you would constantly get like a new power up, and it was very consistent, and it made you feel so powerful gradually, and it was very rewarding. So that I really do appreciate. But yeah, my main issue was just like it's some things were not so obvious, but it is a very fun game to kind of like, if you have nothing to do on a weekend, just explore every nook and cranny to your heart's content.
In 2D Metroids, they did have indicators in rooms. Once you've visited a room and you've cleared it,
True.
It would show like a big circle where a secret might be in that room, and then once you found it, it became a dot, so you know that you collected it.
Did all of them
There's
have
a lot
that,
of those
though?
indicators. No, Fusion did it, but it didn't. I don't think it told you how many were still missing in the level. I don't think. But Zero Mission lets you know how many secrets you're still missing from that area.
Okay.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So, yeah.
So they made it a little easier, almost too easy. I like the spending long amounts of time trying to figure things out, but
Most people don't. No.
I mean, like as an adult, I just I have a lot of things going on,
hard,
so I
yeah.
only have a little bit of time. So it is a little hard in that way because this was made in a simpler time where we didn't have cell phones and notifications constantly.
Right.
And there wasn't a game coming out, multiple times per day.
Yeah,
At the
yeah.
time it was just like you got one hit every couple
Yep.
months. So and this was like
Sure.
the game of that year that you had to play pretty much. So it's a different world and takes some getting used to. But if you can
Yeah.
kind of frame your mind to just kind of get lost in this world and really appreciate what is there for you, it really is an unforgettable experience. And also I think the types of weapons and upgrades that you got were just so clever for an early 90s game, like the x-ray visor, the grapple beam, like the where you like run really fast and into these blocks or whatever. I just thought there was these really clever ways of advancing through the world through these items and abilities. So looking back from Metroid Prime and seeing like the origins of those items, I'm just blown away by what they were
Cool.
able to come up with at the time.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
well, I think that brings us towards the end. So to wrap up, Super Metroid is awesome. We will be revisiting this game and an HD remake, maybe even an in-depth someday.
definitely.
But this is something that it's definitely my baby. I hope Nintendo handles it really well in doing a remake when they ultimately do, because I've got a lot of nostalgia and a lot of fondness for this game, and I hope they don't do it dirty.
Yeah.
Don't give us a Federation Force adaptation of Super Metroid
They
in some
wouldn't do
random
that.
way. Like,
No way.
don't please.
Don't put that out in the universe.
Well, where can everyone find us, guys?
You can listen to us every week. You can find us at the Nintendo Village, nintendovillage.com/Nintendo Nostalgia. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, and Pandora Podcasts.
We're
Also on
everywhere.
YouTube. Getting there. And then you can find us on Facebook at Nintendo NOS, on our Twitter at Nintendo_NOS, on Instagram at Nintendo NOSIN. Shoot us an email at nintendonostalgiain@gmail.com. You can also give us a call on our Nostalgia Hotline, share your memories, and show us some love at 317-969-5690. Guys, that brings us to the end of the episode. Thank you so much for listening, and we will catch you next week. Later, Preston.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
I'm totally clipping that and putting it at the end of the episode.
Oh gosh. There you go. Good.